So I know also our second presenter is in the room. So hi, Kimberly, how are you? Thank you for joining us. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to CB14's Community Environment, Cultural Affairs, and Economic Development Committee meeting on Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. It is currently 6:32 p.m. Held online via WebEx. And my name is Ed Sen, co-chair of this committee. And we have a few items on the agenda tonight, but first we'll hear from Grant Ewing from, is it DEP, and Harry Lopez from DDC, or I'm sorry if,
From the
oh,
Department of
from
Design and
DEP.
Construction, yeah.
Okay, sorry. The Grant from DDC and Robert from DEP to present on the Graves and Bay Tributary Project. Plans to install green infrastructure in Community District 14. And with that said, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Ed. That was a fantastic introduction. I would like to share my screen if that's okay with everybody. I have a PowerPoint I can run through.
You should be able to do that with that little folder with the arrow at the bottom.
Okay, and let me know, is that coming through? Or it looks like I'm in. Okay.
There you go.
All right. So, as Ed mentioned, I am Grant Ewing from the Department of Design and Construction. We are the engineers and architects for the city. Most public buildings and infrastructure projects throughout the 5 boroughs are sponsored by great agencies like the DEP, and then we come in to help design, manage, and build the project. So one of the projects we're really excited about in your area is GKOH 15 Phase 1. This is a green infrastructure project happening really all across Windsor Terrace, Ditmas Park, Flatbush, Kensington, installing precast porous concrete panels in select streets. So walking through the agenda, I guess what I hope to give today is an overview of the project, the timeline, the scope, how it helps the community, and then here's some feedback and questions that the committee has. So to give a general overview of the project, as Ed mentioned, this is a green infrastructure project, but we are only installing PPCP, that precast porous concrete panels that I mentioned. These are permeable pavement, I guess to say. We've replaced existing concrete space on the road next to the curb line with a new surface of concrete that helps mitigate storm water. So this would greatly help with flood mitigation in the area. We're installing about 101 different PPCP segments throughout the project zone. The cost will be in and around $53 million to construct those 101 segments. That would begin early next year. We are currently in the design phase with that scheduled to wrap up later in the year, around summer. And speaking of timelines, this is where we've been and where we're going. So we started in 2017 working with DEP to finalize the scope of the project, where exactly we would put this PPCP and what areas would be benefited from the project. And from there, we went through the design phase, and MM stands for mass mailing. That's when we sort of send out the design specs we have at that given time to stakeholders like the community board and the next step in our process is to send out our final MM for our second design package in the project. That'll happen just next month. And as I mentioned, design will wrap up shortly after that, and construction is soon to follow. And we anticipate a 2-year construction schedule, so we should wrap up in 2027. Just to give a little bit more context, this is DEP is implementing a lot of these projects that benefit a lot of hard hit areas with rainwater, stormwater. This is one of 4 phases either currently in design or construction. Phase 2, as you see in the images, it just kicked off construction last month, impacting Sunset Park, Borough Park. But phase 1 here, we see impacts the mentioned neighborhoods and the community boards. So this is one where we're touching a lot of different communities and a lot of different stakeholders. So we really appreciate opportunities like this where we can speak to, present to people who know the community well and hear feedback. And just to get in, not to get too technical on sort of the design specs of PPCP, but to give you a little bit more of context of what we're doing. Precast porous concrete panels, we will go into, I guess you'd say, the gutters of the streets, really where that ponding happens on our streets, right next to the curb lines. And we will excavate that area probably around 2 to 3 feet deep and put in a layer of first sort of fragmented stone material, and then come in with these panels that you see in the image that are permeable, that allow rainwater to really get soaked up in a much more efficient way than what we currently see on our streets. And this is sort of a very construction industry image, but I thought it would just be good to add to highlight that we are not removing trees during this project. We may be pruning trees, but what we're doing actually is expanding a lot of tree pits, the area around the trees, to protect them, to work with the existing environment, to work with the trees, to work with a lot of speed humps that are in the area. So PPCP is very flexible. Those panels you can change in and out, and it's flexible to the environment too. So we'll be protecting trees, expanding tree pits, planting more trees throughout the project. So just wanted to include this slide to highlight that as one of the features of the project. And this just goes into a little bit more of how we're doing that. You match the panels that are going in with the slope of the area, or you expand existing tree pits to add more support to that tree as you're putting in the new concrete. So it's a very flexible, very permeable structure, and we'll be able to work with the surrounding environment. Speaking on environment, you guys know this well, but I'll go into some of the conditions that we're working with in your area. One thing that I would like to note, we've been working on sidewalk planters that are on a few blocks. East 5th and Albemarle is one that comes to mind, maybe not, but maybe I can work with the community to find out who exactly owns this planters. So once the construction phase does kick off in a while, we can work with the owners, temporarily relocate them while we're doing construction in that area, and then bring them back to where they're rightfully located. So just something that I wanted to bring up as I had this opportunity to talk to you guys. It's something that the design team, when they did a field walkthrough about just a few weeks ago, they brought to my attention. So I thought this was a good opportunity. Other features that we're working with are some historic areas. We're working with landmarks on approvals to work in their area where there are natural and historical landmarks. And those approvals should be accepted in the next month when our design kicks off. So we're in coordination with all the outside authorities and agencies that we need to be. Driveways, we will, our other green infrastructure projects have community construction liaisons, which are the day-to-day community outreach personnel on the construction team. And these staffers are very good at working with property owners who have driveways. And so if we're working in a street where a driveway could be blocked, the CCL will work with that property owner to make sure it's not blocked at a time that's needed. And when work is done, they still have driveway access and not just an excavated trench. We'll put likely some of the slabs that you see on the road when there is active roadway work that still allows you to drive on it. So we're looking to be in close coordination with the community, with authorities, with associations, to make sure that certain existing conditions in the area are met with as minimal impact as possible during the construction process. That includes bike lanes and trolley tracks, but I think I will get into that in my next slide. Yes. So this is a map of the current project location. As you can see, I mentioned we're working Windsor Terrace all the way down to Foster Avenue. And to give you an indication of how construction is likely to progress, we are working with National Grid. They will have to relocate a lot of their pipes throughout the construction process. And how they often work is from south to north. So we'll likely mimic that process in the construction phase of the project. And so we'll be working closer into Ditmas Park up to Prospect Park. And as you can see, the green slashes throughout that project are locations of PPCP. And I think one to highlight, I don't know if my cursor is showing, but on Parkside, we are actually building a pilot PPCP bike lane. So this is one of the first of its kind where the bike lane will have that precast porous concrete panels that will really mitigate ponding in the bike lane. So bicyclists are able to use, well, hopefully, the lanes after rainwater, after storms. It's one of the first of its kind in the city. And we'll also be building the bump outs that sometimes accompany these bike lanes to ensure pedestrian safety at crosswalks. But that is one of the significant features that goes along with this green infrastructure project. And another feature that we're working with DOT on, they will devise basically a traffic control plan when we're working in certain streets. And just to give an indication of timelines from block to block, previous projects in construction were usually able to finish around 2 to 4 blocks a month. So maybe you could average that out to a block a week. So we don't anticipate issues of parking or traffic flow to be long-term issues for the community. And in these MPTs, maintenance, protection, traffic plans, bike lanes will not be closed. So the DOT really tries to maintain that same flow of traffic as much as they can while we're able to do the construction we need. And with that, I think I will open it up to questions or feedback if anybody has any. We also, I know Robert from the DEP mentioned earlier, and he's on the call as well. Address any questions from the DEP side of this project, but happy to answer anything.
Thank you for this presentation. I do see a couple of hands from committee members, so we'll take questions from members of the committee, and then if members of the public have questions, we'll address them as well. So Glenn, why don't you start us off?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first one has to do with just how much water per square foot of this permeable concrete do you think can be absorbed? And the second part is, am I correct in assuming that the water should flow through to the dirt below, which would be good for the trees? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Yes, well, on the specifics of the PPCP, Robert, I don't know if you could speak to the exact amount of water that can be absorbed. I'll be happy to get that figure if we can't answer it tonight and send that to Sean. But yes, under the panels, we'll have that, I guess you'd say, loose stone, and then sort of a mesh guardrail to keep everything in place under that. But then after that, it'll be absorbed into the ground. So in a way, the PPCP acts as a very strong filter. So maybe to get to any questions someone may have, it will require some maintenance, and things get trapped in a filter just like they would a catch basin, even though this is a little more rigid than a catch basin. Maintenance will be done by the city. 311 is often a tool that the community can use if there is any PPCP that requires maintenance. But yes, to answer your question, Glenn, that is sort of how rainwater gets dissolved into the structure.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and move on to Liz Denny's.
Hi, I have two questions and they're a little bit different. The first one is just, is there anything different for property owners and what they need to do when they're like sweeping the streets, because they are required to sweep 18 inches into the sweep, like street, if there is this PPC, or is it just kind of the normal maintenance you would do normally, like just anything to look out for that we can help communicate? And my second question was just, how are the sites for the I'm not going to get the acronym right. How are the sites selected for this new material? You know, I don't have the full map of where we know there are major problem areas in the district, but I did kind of notice that the place where one of those I know very well and personally is where Prospect Park like lets out all of its water into Park Circle, down Coney Island Avenue, a little bit over Caton, down East 10th Street, and then kind of continues down there. And notice that none of those were for the proposed precast porous concrete panels, and was wondering how that selection was made. I'm sure all of these places need it, but just there are also probably additional places in the district that need a lot more water handling, and was wondering what the process for that would be as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I might kick those two questions. One was related to maintenance and one on sort of the policy of the scope. Robert, if you want to speak to any of those.
Sure. So for selection, we go for areas that have what we call combined sewer overflows, also abbreviated as CSO. It's where the water that gets into the sewer system exceeds the sewer system, and then you see flooding and sewer backups into people's properties. Another factor to take into consideration for a location is the soil composition that's at the area that we're looking at. So we do extensive boring tests to see what the composition is. And also we see what type of infrastructure is underground at the location, such as gas lines, electrical, Verizon, other phone companies. Like for example, there's none of this, no rain gardens, no porous pavement. None of this is in Staten Island or Manhattan, for example, because the soil composition and density of infrastructure in the ground prevents us from an installation in those boroughs. But if you have other locations we'd like to take into consideration, I'm more than happy to bring that back to our green infrastructure unit to see the viability of installation there.
Yeah, I think I was just going to note, especially I've heard, I'm sure Sean has a much more complete picture of those streets and can make a map against it, but definitely East 10th Street, Church Avenue, and in that western side of that red section and Stratford have been having a lot of combined sewer overflow backups into people's homes and so forth, and would certainly benefit from this kind of a process as well. And like I said, I'm sure there are many others in the district. I know that I've talked about this with the office before, and they have a much more firm recollection of where all those locations are.
Okay. I mean, I'd be happy to put my email in the chat once I figure out where the button is for that. And either district manager can email me the list once it's compiled. I'd highly suggest including Denise Hubbard as well. I'm kind of subbing in for her because she's out this week. But yeah, I'll put my email in the chat once I figure out where the button is. And please share with me that list once it's compiled.
If I may just interject, and I just want to piggyback off of what Liz shared. Thank you for that perspective, Robert. I just wanted to know what considerations DEP has made as it relates to stormwater resiliency and extreme rain, given what the district experienced as it relates to Ida and other instances of extreme rain. And I think those are just some considerations. I think DEP should also they should be factored into this project as well, given what the district experienced. And I'll turn it over to Sean. Just I'm sure she has a lot to add to this as well, and the complaints that some of our neighbors have shared to the office.
Sure. And there's not a chat, Robert, but I know where to find you and you know where to find me, so we can follow up.
Okay.
There's also the Q&A if somebody's desperate to put something in writing on this meeting. But yeah, it's something also I touched on with Grant prior to this meeting, the question about why East 10th and why Stratford between Caton and Church weren't included. And so I'd be curious as to whether or not if there's a soil composition or infrastructure concern on those blocks, because they are fairly by far the most dramatic flooding locations in that area, which is a chronic flooding location. And then I'll get you the other 5 chronic flooding locations in the district, but the rest of them are outside of this project area, but we always want to continue talking about them for mitigation. So does that fill out what you were seeking, Ed? Because I also had a couple other questions, but I can wait my turn.
I have one quick question. That East 10th Street you said?
Yeah.
How close is it in proximity to the map that's currently shown here?
It's right there. So if you look at where at the circle, the park circle, and if you look at where the yellow turns to pink, it is East 10th Street is the first street east of Coney Island Avenue.
Okay.
And Stratford is the second street east of Coney Island Avenue. So they're in the pink and they're just below the parade ground, which exactly. And I want to make sure that Elizabeth Walsack from Parks is on this call, and I referred Christian Zimmerman to Grant earlier too. So to the extent that it would be useful to coordinate this project with the State of Good Repair project in the parade ground, which is also going to do a drainage system, and then the bigger, longer term Lakeshore project, I think I'm not confident that those coordination conversations have taken place.
I wouldn't be able to speak to that right now, Sean.
No, fair enough.
I
Yeah,
can
I didn't
definitely
mean to
check
put you
in
on
with
the spot,
Christian
but
and with Capital and Interagency. I haven't been involved, but yes, I totally agree with you, and I'll look into it on my end and let you guys know.
Pretty sure I'll have to ask about that as well.
Okay, good. And I'm here to connect everybody. And then just very quickly, Grant, East Fifth and Albemarle is in CB12. So if you need help reaching out on those planters, let me know.
Thank you. Okay. I think there are a few other areas too, and I'll check with the design team where exactly they walked through, but appreciate
Yeah.
that. I
We
guess
have some on Newkirk, but yeah, we'll sort it out and make sure that we're inquiring properly.
thank
Thanks.
you.
Were there any other hands, or I see Florencia, and then we'll go to Glenn, and also Carl. Sorry.
Carl's in there, yeah.
Yeah. So
Thank
we'll
you.
go with Florencia, and then Carl, and then Glenn in that order.
Thanks, Ed. I just wanted to know about maintenance. With what frequency will they be checked? Or is it after every extreme rain?
Robert, does DEP have a set policy on maintenance, or do they do sweeps of any kind?
So I'm much more familiar with this. So just for everyone's understanding, the porous pavement is a newer asset of ours. I'm much more familiar with the rain garden maintenance program, which is like we come out and check each one once per month at least. And also, of course, we respond to 311 complaints to send out maintenance teams when it's reported to us. I'll have to inquire about what the maintenance schedule is for the porous pavement, because I imagine it's a bit more involved than a rain garden would be.
Okay, thank you.
Speaking of rain gardens, any chance that we'll have an expansion of rain gardens in our district anytime soon, Robert?
I'm really sorry. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go back and refer to the budget consultation maps that we gave out during the budget consultations back in September, and ask our green infrastructure as well.
And I'll check on our end, see if we have any green infrastructure projects, either in design or construction, that overlap with the district. I know phase 2 goes a little bit into your community board's district, just a little bit, but that's PPCP as well. So if we have any other projects related to green infrastructure, I'll send it over to you.
Great. Carl, go ahead.
Sure. So, folks, good evening. And, Grant and Robert, thank you so much for this presentation. So I have 2 quick questions. Grant, if you're still sharing your screen, could you go to the timeline slide real quick?
Of course.
Okay.
There we go.
Yes, this one. Thank you. And so my first question is the timeline, just because from design start to the MM1 is about like 5.5 years. So I'm just curious about, what was that? Like COVID probably took up 2 years of those, but I'm curious what happened from August 27 up to COVID. And then my second question is, like you mentioned, there's cross-agency coordination. So I'm wondering, is there also coordination with MTA and DOT? Just because I'm definitely seeing, bus islands being built within streets, and then there's still conversations maybe about the Brooklyn bus redesign network. So I'm just wondering, our conversations also with the MTA to ensure that whatever is being built with the PPC, it's not like you build it and then it turns out the MTA is going to be doing a bus redesign or putting an island there that completely negates the value of what's happening, or so on and so forth. So those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Yes, on the design, this project, at the start of it is sort of the initiation. We call it our front end planning unit that works with DEP to settle on the exact scope. And Robert mentioned some details that we look at for the placement of PPCP, but we also settle on the nitty gritty things of cost and some of the challenges of this area, working with Con Ed, working with National Grid on relocations. There potentially are trolley tracks on Parkside that are underground that could cause an issue. So there are a lot of different geological surveys, schematic designs that you really need your ducks in a row before you get those first mass mailings out, before you can get that first rough draft. So it does take a while to go from scope to preliminary design, but you want to make sure you have it right when you send everything out. And on coordination with MTA, was it? That's in the you're okay. You're referring to making sure that they don't come in, and we do coordinate with MTA when we go through designs, and also in the construction process. Somewhat related to your question, if our work does disturb any bus routes or is ever in front of any bus stops, we coordinate with the MTA again on making sure that route is still usable for all the riders, and there's no disturbance to ridership at all on a given route where we're working.
Cool. Thank you so much for answering my question. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm next. So a question and a comment. The question, I couldn't quite tell how wide are these mitigation strips? They look like maybe 2.5 to 3 feet from the curb. Is that about right?
I'd say so. I can get the exact number, but yeah, it's essentially I don't know if it's the technical term, but I call it the gutter. Just really the space right next to the street and the curb line. Um, Not any wider than a normal bike lane. So where really the ponding occurs, the backup, the buildup of rainwater on a street occurs right next to the curb.
All right, and the comment is that I'm very pleased to see that you are doing most of Stratford Road. There is a catch basin at the corner of Slocum and Stratford at the northwest corner, which tends to get overwhelmed. But since you've got a couple of blocks further north, that might control that. And then everything south of that just flows right down to Cortellia Road, a major feed for the flooding there. So this looks like, if it works reasonably well, that it should make a big difference here for Cortellia Road. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. I'm not seeing. Oh, Sean, you have your hand up. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
put my hand back up, please. First of all, it sounds like we have a catch basin that should be inspected at the corner of Slocum and Stratford. So I'll follow up on the exact location of that and see if we can get DEP to take a look at that. But my question is about, because of the installation in the curb line, the any impact on sanitation broom service, and because there have been some installation that have impacted broom service. Is there any anticipation of this having any impact on that in terms of the weight of the brooms, frequency of brooms, stuff like that?
I don't anticipate any impact to the service, but I'll coordinate with sanitation to see exactly how they navigate all the other existing PPCP projects that we have.
Yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate knowing that, and then knowing about the interaction of some of the chemicals they use, both on the broom and then for some of the ice melt chemicals that are sort of newly introduced at DSNY, just because it's a different surface. So just getting more information on that would be interesting, I think. Thanks.
I'll reach out to them tomorrow and we can start a dialogue, and I'll pass all the information I get from them along to you.
Cool, thank you.
And I see one more hand up, and this will be the last question on this topic. Florencia, go ahead.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask, what impacts will it have on parking, if any?
So it will impact parking on the block that we're working on. We move very quickly in the construction process. So, and usually we're working our work hours for construction. I don't know the exact schedule that the contractor will do because we don't have a construction contractor yet, and they set their schedules. But usually work starts around 7 or 9 and ends around 3 or 4. So during the work hours, and parking will be impacted during work, but then after, the contractor will lay down material that allows parking. So we don't anticipate it to be a challenge that lasts a long time for that given block, for that given individual. But when we are working on a block, we will post advisories, no parking notices. We'll be in communication with the residents to make sure it's as painless as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Robert, for this wonderful presentation. If you could share this presentation with the office, that would be super helpful. And I look forward to hearing more about green infrastructure in CB14 in the near future, maybe some more rain gardens.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So I'll hand it over to my co-chair, Melissa Minich, who will introduce our next presenter from DCWP. I just want to point out the swag from DCWP. So, hey, Kimberly, how are you?
Good,
Thank you
and
for joining
you?
us.
Yes, of course.
So, Melissa, go ahead, take it away.
Well, thank you. And apologies that my video is not working tonight. But we do have, as Ed said, we do have DCWP here tonight, and I believe it's Mohammed. Is Mohammed here, or is it Kimberly? Who's
Kimberly actually will.
Okay, so Kimberly Dorismond, who's presenting on free tax preparation programs in Brooklyn. And we're very happy to have you. So thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you so much for having me here. So I'm just going to go ahead and start sharing the screen as well. Okay, and I just want to make sure that everyone can see the screen.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, perfect. So today, my name is Kimberly, like Melissa and Ed were able to introduce me, and I am with the New York City Department of Consumer and Workers Protection. I know Ed is very familiar, but today specifically, we're going to be talking about the New York City free tax prep programs, as well as the free empowerment centers. So the great services that, again, are completely free to all New Yorkers who live or work in the city, and regardless of immigration status. So just to jump right into it, I just want to give a quick background information regarding the mission statement of our agency and what we do. So the mission statement is to protect and enhance the daily economic lives of New Yorkers to create thriving communities. And the real question is, how do we do that? We have 3 main points in which we are able to help the city and to create these thriving communities. First, we enforce consumer rights. So if they feel as though they've been dealing with unfair business practices and maybe deceptive businesses, they're able to come forward to us and file complaints. So this is because we license a number of different types of businesses, and we also do inspections on certain types of businesses. So if you see our logo and our license within this business, this is something that we may be able to help you with. In addition to this, we also enforce workers' rights, and this includes even being the right to take a day off if you are sick. And I think everyone definitely should be able to do so. And knowing that this is something that is a right, and if someone is having an issue with this, we're able to assist with this. And knowing that, again, I think gives you peace of mind, knowing that we are here to help and that whatever we can do, we'll do our best. And lastly, we offer free financial empowerment programs. So this includes the free tax prep program, which I'm going to be discussing, as well as the free financial counseling. Again, completely free to all New Yorkers and regardless of immigration status. This also ties into those that want to make a complaint or maybe a type of worker that's having issues. So again, if this is something that you may have an issue with or maybe someone that you may know, I think this is definitely something that I'm going to be sharing my contact information, and please be sure to reach out to us if you're having any issues. So jumping right into it, free tax prep. We are in the midst of tax season, and I want to make sure that everyone who may be eligible or maybe someone who knows someone that may be eligible is aware of this program. So we have the New York City free tax prep for families making under $85,000 or for individuals making under $59,000. This is completely free and has been around for a couple years. I know some people, when I have spoken about this program, was like, oh my gosh, I've never heard of this, or maybe is this something that's new? No, it's not. It's actually been since 2014 that we've been able to help many New Yorkers. At over 903,000 tax returns have been able to be completed through our program. Again, saving people so much money and just making sure that they're able to get more money back into their pockets. Again, completely free service. So I think just knowing this, and even knowing that this has been around for a long time, and maybe some people aren't aware of it, this just gives us hope in which more people will be able to take advantage of this program and be able to save money instead of having to go to paid prepare. And I'm just going to let you know about the 4 different ways that you can actually file. So as you can see on the screen, we have 4 different options, which again allows people to be able to work with their schedule. So depending on what's going on in your life, we have many different options, which allows you to still take advantage of this free program. First, we have the in-person tax preparer. I know if you prefer to sit down with your tax preparer, you're able to do this. We have a number of different locations throughout the city, and I can actually show you how to go on our website and to see the best locations. But this just allows you to actually sit down face-to-face with your preparer and ask whatever questions that may be necessary. Second, we have a drop-off service. Maybe you don't have time in your schedule, but you still want to take advantage of this. This allows you to do so. So dropping off your documents and picking them up when your return is actually completed gives you the peace of mind knowing that when you're still able to use this program and you're able to fit it with your schedule and how you're allowed to. Next, we have the virtual tax prep. Just like how I'm able to speak to you now virtually, and I know a lot of people have been going into the hybrid roles and even post-pandemic, this is still the same concept, and you're able to speak with a tax preparer in real time, but it's just online. So again, maybe the location that you would want to go to isn't available the day that you would like to get your taxes done, or maybe even the location that's closest to you is filled up with appointments. This allows you to still take advantage of this program. And lastly, we have the assisted self-preparation. For those that are feeling extremely confident in doing your own taxes, this allows you to actually use a free filing software, but you still have access to phone or email someone. So knowing that you're able to go through all the steps, and it gives you step-by-step of how to do everything, but maybe you're just a little bit nervous before sending it off. You want to make sure that all your T's are crossed, all your I's are dotted. This allows you to get this peace of mind again, because you're able to speak to someone before you actually send off your tax return. Next, you want to make sure that you bring the proper documents to your appointment. So I'm just going to go over some of this information. First off, the photo ID. And again, like I said, all of our programs and resources are available regardless of immigration status. And this also includes this free tax prep program. So while you can bring a New York State ID, you're also able to bring ID NYC for those that are unable to bring in a state ID or obtain one. Next, we also have tax ID. You want to make sure that you're able to provide this. So whether it's a social security number or even an individual taxpayer identification number, also known as an ITIN number. And I'm also happy to share that we have certain locations that actually have certified acceptance agents. And these locations are able to verify the documents needed to apply for the ITIN number. So maybe those that are just coming into the country, they want to be able to work, but they know that they have to deal with their finances and taxes first. This gives people peace of mind knowing that this is a free service available to them. And we're just here to help and want to make sure that we can help in any way that we can. Next, we have proof of income. This can be a W-2, a 1098, 1099, even any expenses records that you want to keep if you are self-employed, because another part of this free tax prep program is that those that are self-employed are also able to use this. And the tax preparers are very knowledgeable in those different types of forms that have to be filled out because it's different than those that are not self-employed. Next, childcare expenses. If this is something that you're able to provide, you want to make sure that you have the provider information and tax ID because this may be a type of tax credit that you can get back. This also ties into an earned income tax credit, which again could be more money back into your bank account, and more than 800,000 families in New York City may not even know that they're eligible for this. So knowing that the preparers are going to do the best that they can to get the most money back into your paycheck gives you peace of mind, especially because a lot of the times the tax refund may be the biggest paycheck that someone gets throughout the year. And this money may already be allocated to something that they have to do, whether it's repairs, a trip planned, even doctor's appointments, even medical care. This is something that New Yorkers want to make sure that they can get the most back. And knowing that this free program, again, saves you from having to pay a paid preparer and getting the most tax credits back gives you peace of mind. Next, you want to make sure that you have your account and routing numbers for your direct deposit, if this is how you choose to get your refund. Having incorrect numbers can just delay how long it takes, and we don't want that. We want to get the money back as quickly as we can. And lastly, signatures. Especially if you're filing jointly, you want to make sure you have the signatures for yourself and for any spouse. When it comes to the actual appointment, I'm happy to share that we're able to meet you where you are. So whatever language that you may be speaking, our preparers are actually able to offer these languages on the screen. However, if there's a language that you do speak that may not be on the screen, we have access to a language line. And through this language line, we're actually able to speak to you in real time so that your appointment is translated. And you don't have to feel as though you have to make another appointment if the person that you're speaking to may not speak the language you do. You're still able to get the best care and best work, and knowing that we're able to meet you where you are and you're able to continue in your language that you're most comfortable in, I think also gives you some peace of mind. Next, I know I was sharing a lot of information about the free program, which I think if you are eligible or if you know anyone that's eligible, should definitely take advantage of. But I'm also just going to share some useful information when it comes to using a paid preparer, knowing your rights. I know my mom is definitely going to be sticking with her tax preparer that she's been using for years. So I know maybe some people on this call may feel the same way. And I'm going to share some information that maybe you weren't even aware. First, you have the right to ask for the identification and qualifications of your tax preparer. Knowing that you're paying someone who is qualified and knows exactly what they're doing, again, gives you peace of mind knowing that you are paying this person and you want to make sure that they're going to do the best job that they do. Fees and additional charges. Asking for this allows you to know exactly what you're going to be paying, what you're going to be charged for, and making sure that they can't add anything. This also ties into on the bottom half of the screen when you can get a written estimate of the total cost of each service. Knowing that you can compare the two and seeing if there's any discrepancies, again, gives you peace of mind because you already have the proof and you can ask your tax preparer, what is this difference? What is this additional charge and why is the price different? You want to make sure that you also know the different refunds options when it comes to paying for your services and even getting your money back. Whether it's paying for the services out of your tax refunds, maybe paying beforehand, whether they want to bring up a RAL, which is a refund anticipation loan. This is something that tax preparers may tell you that you're able to get your money back faster. That's not necessarily the case because you're actually taking out a loan. And with this loan comes interest, just as any loan has. And knowing this may defer you from using this type of service because you're going to be paying more in the end, even for money that may be given to you earlier. So I think just again, because you are able to ask how long to expect for your refund, this will give you peace of mind before having to make the final decision and knowing that you have all the options in front of you. But again, even knowing that there's a certain time frame that it takes for you to get your refund back. So if your tax preparer is telling you that they can get your money back faster, that's probably most likely too good to be true. And that's just something to take with a side of caution. Some more rights that you have as a tax paid preparer when using a tax paid preparer is that you have the right to get a copy of your tax return. Whether you are self-employed and maybe you want to keep it for your own records, you want to be able to refer to it in previous years, maybe you just want to keep it for your records just to have so that you can keep for your own personal side, you're able to get that copy of your tax return and your tax preparer shouldn't be giving you any issues with that. Also, making sure that you get an itemized receipt. This will tie into knowing the written estimate and the charges that was already expected so that you know exactly how much you're paying and how much you did pay, and if there are any additional charges that they may be trying to add towards the end. Even making sure that you get any personal papers returned to you. I'm not sure if maybe you had submitted a W-2. Hopefully you didn't give them the physical copy of your ID, but making sure it was a copy, making sure that you can get that back, knowing that they're not going to be holding on to anything that you may want. Again, I know I had mentioned the RALs and the loans, definitely making sure that you know all the information when it comes to that, knowing any fee that they may charge, and even knowing the interest that may accrue with this. And lastly, you want to make sure that you review all of your paperwork, whether it's your name, mailing address, and again, bank account information, because we don't want to have your refunds delayed any more longer. I know I had mentioned that with this tax prep program, we also have this available for those that are self-employed. So again, can be for a freelancer, gig worker, small business owner, and knowing that one, while you have to file your taxes annually, you're supposed to be making estimated tax payments quarterly. And our preparers are educated and able to help you with this. In addition to even using this free program, we also have resources that are available all throughout the year. So again, starting off with the tax prep, making sure that you can complete your federal and New York State quarterly estimated files, and knowing that this is again completely free. We also have the one-on-one consultations and group sessions, which again is available so that you can get personalized help for your business, whether it's a restaurant, maybe a small goods store, deli, anything that, again, because this may be the first business that you're opening, knowing that you have this backup and the help of the city to help assist you with this gives you peace of mind. We also have workshops, which gives you information about how to properly file your taxes and the best record keeping, because again, if this is your first business, this is something that you may not be used to, and you want to make sure that you're getting all the resources that you can. We also provide templates such as record keeping and even tips on the best practices so that you can do this. And the income levels are the same, so making under $85,000 for families or making under $59,000 for individuals. However, we want to make sure your business expenses are less than $250,000. Now, I know I was sharing a lot of information about tax prep, but I just want to go into information about our free financial counseling. So while there was an income level that had to be met for the tax prep, free financial counseling is actually available to everyone, regardless of immigration status. You just have to be over the age of 18 and live or work in the city. And knowing that, again, this is a program that people may not have been aware of, but this has been around for years. This has actually been around since 2008. And since 2008, we've been able to help 73,000 New Yorkers reduce debt by $100 million and build more than $11 million in savings. And again, this is a completely free service available to everyone. When you go into the appointment, you are the one that leads it. So whatever you want to discuss is what will be discussed, whether it's creating a bank account, maybe you want to create a budget plan, even talking about loans with student loans or whatever loans that you may have. Your counselor is able to assist you with this, and they will come up with a plan for you right then and there so that it's actually tailored to your situation and everything. So they'll figure out what your income levels are, what your checks look like, exactly how much you're bringing in, going through your expenses, and tailoring it specifically for you, knowing that this experience is for you and it's not just a general type of appointment. And after, you actually leave the appointment with all the resources and information that was discussed so that you know exactly what to do for your next steps. And afterward, wow, hopefully you are able to reach your goals. That may not be the case. Maybe your circumstance will change. The great thing about this is that you're able to make additional appointments. So with the additional appointments, you're still able to take advantage of this program, and they're able to help you with whatever may be the new goal. Or maybe you were able to achieve your goal and you want to create a new goal. Just knowing that you're able to continue to make appointments, again, gives you peace of mind. And just knowing that this is something that, again, is completely free to you just because you live or work in the city. I know I was sharing a lot of information about the great things that we have with the free financial empowerment centers, but we also have our contact information. You can contact 311 or emailing us at communityaffaires@dcwp.nyc.gov. And when it comes to making an appointment for the tax prep, you can actually call 311 and just say tax preparation so that they transfer you to the correct line so that you know exactly what they are doing. But just making sure that you can take advantage of this on our website, nyc.gov/tax prep. It'll also take you to an interactive map in which you're able to see the closest locations, whether it's for the in-person or even the drop-off services. But I just want to make sure that people actually make the appointment beforehand instead of just showing up, because I don't want them to turn you away just in case they don't have availability during the day. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, but I definitely want to answer any questions if anyone may have.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Does anybody have questions for Kimberly?
Very thorough. And we're happy to post that on our website too, if you would share the slide with us if you'd like.
Yes, of course, of course. I'll be sure to share that. Thank you.
Awesome.
It looks like she answered everything. I guess it's a good thing.
If not, my contact information was there, and I know you guys also have our contact information. So maybe if there are any questions afterward, you can always just be sure to let me know.
Yeah, I'm happy to forward anything on if people think of things afterward. And thanks so much, Kimberly. I appreciate that. And Mohammed was mentioned too. Thank him for us for facilitating this, and to you for being here.
Yes, of course, of course. I'm glad I was able to share this useful information.
So co-chairs, I think there are a couple of announcements under new business, and I'm happy to turn it back to you if you would like to open that up.
Sure, we'll open it up to other business or new business. I believe we have reps from DSNY and also from Parks here with a few quick announcements. So, Catherine, I'll turn it over to you from DSNY. Catherine Belfort.
Hello. Hello, good evening, everyone. I just have a very brief announcement that starting March 1st, which I believe is this Friday, all businesses of any size must set out waste in a bin with a secure lid. This applies to all businesses that set out waste on the curb, meaning all trash, food, and food soiled paper must be in labeled bins with secure lids when set out on the curb for collection, either after 8 p.m. or up to 1 hour before closing. Just to clarify, this rule does not require the separation of trash from food or food soiled paper. It is only required that these materials are placed in bins with secure lids for collection. So again, March 1st, right around the corner, all businesses of any size must set out waste in a bin with a secure lid. We're very excited about this. And that's pretty much it. That's a very brief announcement for today.
Thank you, Catherine. I see that we do have two questions, first from Sean and then Carl.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that we're clear that This requirement is for businesses, but it's not, those businesses are still required to put it in bins for their private carters, correct? It's not sanitation collection?
No, it's not sanitation collection.
Yeah, let's just
no.
be clear about that, because you said for
Yes.
collection. I want to make sure it's for their own private carter collection.
Always private carter
Thank
collection.
you, my friend. Thank you.
Carl, did you have a question?
That was my question / clarifying point, and it was clarified.
I will
so I'm
add
good.
it to my presentation to clarify. Thank you very much for pointing that out. That's good. Good information.
I just had a few questions myself. Will there
course.
be a grace period for those businesses that are not compliant, or will fines be issued immediately?
I don't have information as to a grace period, an actual grace period, but I know March 1st is the hard launch, if you will. Okay, but I can get back to you as far as a grace period. I don't want to say a month, but usually we like to do a month, but that is not, don't quote me. I will certainly get back to you, okay?
Got it.
About a
Thank
grace
you,
period.
Catherine. And just regarding private carters, any word from DSNY, and you can come back to us at a later date about commercial waste zones. I know this is something that City Council had passed previously, and I believe it's DSNY's charge to implement that.
Yes, so commercial waste, there's a whole commercial waste bureau, and that's not us. If you have specific questions, I can certainly put you in contact with someone from the bureau. Okay, so tomorrow when I get into the office, I will be sure to reach out to speak to my colleagues. They're on the same floor as I am, so it's gonna be pretty easy to walk over and get their contact information. And you said commercial waste zones. Any specific?
I'm just wondering what that rollout may look like, and as it
Okay.
relates to your announcement and just down the line. So yeah, any information would be helpful. We do have a few bids in our district that I'm sure they would love to know that information. And I see Carl has his hand up again.
Excellent.
Yes, I'm back. I'm curious. I never knew there was a commercial waste bureau, so I'm intrigued. What is the commercial waste bureau?
Well, the commercial waste bureau is in charge of the whole new rezoning, if you will, of how they collect garbage, where it's going. There was well, actually, it was put on hold. Let me be clarified. It was put on hold during the pandemic. So, as far as changing how garbage is collected, where it's taken from commercial, businesses, which obviously New York has a ton. And now there's going to be a rollout, and there's going to be I guess, education period where people will physically, from the commercial waste bureau, will physically go to each business just to educate them how they're supposed to be disposing of whether it's recycling or their regular trash. And I don't have that much details because, like I said, it was postponed during the pandemic and now they're relaunching. But I will put you in contact with my colleague from the bureau, and she or he will be able to go in a lot more detail than I am tonight, for sure.
Got you. Thank you for that. Yeah, because I'm curious. Like, I don't know if it's like they're their own city agency or it's like they sit under DSNY, but there's a
It's
difference.
under sanitation.
It's
Okay,
just
got you.
it's a unit within sanitation.
That's why it's a
and-
bureau, yes.
Yeah, so I will, and I'll follow up. Just to manage expectations, the commercial zones are not going to hit our district really quickly. They're focused on the really highly concentrated business districts. So we wouldn't see it before let's say downtown Brooklyn, CB2. But we'll keep our eyes out and I'll keep you posted and we'll bring the people from the Bureau in accordingly.
Thanks, Sean, and thank you, Catherine, for that announcement.
Of course. Thank you for having me, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too.
You
Thanks.
too.
Thank you.
and we'll go ahead and turn it over to Elizabeth. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's so nice to connect with you tonight. My name is Elizabeth Walsack. I'm the regional manager for Central Brooklyn Parks. That includes Prospect Park and Parks and Community Board 14. I have a brief presentation I'm excited to share with you tonight, so I'll share my screen. Oh, shoot. Okay. I haven't used WebEx on this computer in a while, so let me just. But while I'm figuring this out, I guess I'll just give you a little background. So you know, in the last few weeks of the new year, sorry, we've rolled out this strategic plan to try to engage a record number of volunteers in our city parks since 2004, and I'm sorry, through the end of 2024. It's our first effort to improve the health and well-being of New Yorkers in their green spaces. If I put this in the chat, do you think someone else could open it for me? I'm sorry, my preferences aren't set, and I'm like.
See if you can put it in Q&A and I'll try.
Cool.
Otherwise, you can go through it, and what I would do is I can send it out as an attachment. We'll put it on our website, and I'll send it out prior to the board meeting where this will be reported out on, but let's try.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, it's definitely something we want you to share far and wide, the whole presentation and everything. Like I said, I haven't used WebEx in some time, so.
There should be a little
yes,
rectangular photo with an arrow in it at the bottom, but maybe.
And that's not letting me do it either.
Okay, sorry. I
know, I'm so sorry. It's really my fault. Let me try. Let me focus for one few more minutes, and then if not, I'll just come back at another time and give this presentation, because I really don't want to mess this up. No, I'm so sorry. Okay, but very briefly, I can just give you the rundown. So, New York City Parks has historically done a lot to encourage volunteerism in New York City, especially, in our green spaces. And it's been an easy sort of reach for people because they love coming out to their parks. It's good for your health. It gives you a lot of peace of mind. It's a relaxing activity, and you can see the benefits of your work almost immediately. So just a few key points is that, we're fortunate, New York City Parks played a major role in being a central hub for human connection during COVID. Parks served as classrooms, gyms, offices, providing safe spaces for us to be together, but while socially distancing and while safe. So we're fortunate that our spaces have, the lockdown is over, and the city's still recovering on several levels. And the U.S. Surgeon General declared the epidemic loneliness in the U.S. and listed volunteering as a way to combat this. We believe that by connecting New Yorkers to their local green and open spaces throughout volunteering, they'll feel better about the city's future while improving their own mental and physical health. So the way that we're rolling out this, in difference to the way we've approached volunteering and collecting that information in years past, is that we're improving our volunteer tracking. We have a goal to engage a record number of volunteers by the end of 2024. And so we're improving our tracking methods for volunteer events. This will also help us understand and share the cumulative impact of volunteer efforts. We're expanding equity throughout our new volunteer resources. We've created a new volunteer page on our New York City Parks website. It makes it easier for individuals and groups to get matched to volunteer opportunities in our parks, in their local parks. It's easier to navigate and has an expansive list of impact categories, so you can easily find something that matches your interests. So this could be trail maintenance, park cleanups, something that's teen focused or dog focused, so much more. We've also created a group directory so that you can help find your volunteer group near you. And this will help you socialize with people in your neighborhood. And then a few more other points. And then I'll share the document with Sean. This just kind of goes through how you navigate the website, which is not helpful for me to be able to speak to you about it. So I really apologize for my not being completely ready at the moment. And Sean, I would love to share this with you, and you can share it with your network. And then hopefully if I can bring it to the board, or however you'd like to present out about it at another time, please let me know.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do all of the above. I'll send it out to the people who are in the meeting tonight, post it on our website, add it to our newsletter, and then bring you back at the next Community Environment, Cultural Affairs, and Economic Development meeting, trusting that the co-chairs are amenable to that. So we can, and thanks for, being patient and waiting and hanging out with us for the whole meeting. Sorry that that happened. We're going to figure out a way to test drive these presentations for presenters in the future too.
I'm on my personal computer because my Parks computer's been turned in, so I don't have WebEx completely. I guess I don't have it completely set up, so I'm so sorry.
We'll figure it out. No,
Yeah, thank you.
Good information. I'm glad you're doing it, and I anticipate a great deal of success with the outreach effort.
I do as well. Thank you so much.
All right. I think that concludes all the items on our agenda. Melissa, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that is everything, unless anybody else had something we just didn't know about.
Liz, yes.
I believe that the Prospect Park Alliance is holding a lakeshore design presentation not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow on Wednesday, March 6th on Zoom about, it's both relevant as the park, but also some of the lakeshore restoration's goal is to improve accessibility, but also to help reduce the flooding that would be coming down into CB14 as well. And you can find out more at prospectpark.org/lakeshore restoration and register for the virtual presentation on Zoom. I'll be there after volunteering with the youth conference and happy to report back anything that comes up as well to the committee.
Thank you for mentioning that, Liz. I'm looking forward to. I'll be joining that as well, and really excited about this project.
Great. That's super helpful to know. Was not on my radar, so thank you. Yeah, I believe that concludes our meeting this evening. Thank you all for joining us. I believe we have had a record of 5 agencies joining us tonight, so I think we set the bar high. So thank you. So yeah, have a good evening, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.